for tonight. Tonight, it feels like
It is Tuesday, the 19th of March. I'm Randy Katarey with another edition of What's Up the Sports Podcast. We are live on YouTube at What's Up Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. If you are catching tonight's episode via your favorite podcast catcher, thank you so much for the download. Tonight's episode is going to be quite heavy on basketball, both the NBA and NCAA March Madness tournaments. The first four matchups are underway as we speak. In the men's tournament, the women's first four will take place tomorrow, and the first round will take place on Thursday for both the men's and women's divisions. In the NBA, who is poised to make a deep run for the Larry O'Brien Trophy? The NBA playoffs will be taking place in about a month's time. And amongst that, who is a favorite to win the MVP as well as Rookie of the Year? The Paris Olympics are still a few months away, but there is a lot of attention towards the basketball tournament for the both the men and the women. The Roundtable has assembled this evening. Once again, Neel Katarey is back joining us. Neel, how are you?
Good to be here again, Randy.
And back in September, Neel and I had a great chat with some great sportscasters from the state of Mississippi. They are from the Voice of the Fans Sportscast. First guest wasn't able to join us back in September, but it is great to welcome him tonight. Catch him on Instagram at Professor_Flowers92. Damian Flowers is here. Damian, thank you so much for joining us. How's it going?
Man, everything is well, man. I appreciate y'all bringing me on, man. Definitely appreciate it.
No, the pleasure is definitely mine. And the host of the Voice of the Fans Sportscast is here. Be sure to follow Voice of the Fans Sportscast at VOF Sportscast on Instagram as well as YouTube. Ben Swift Reynolds is back. Swift, we meet again. What's going on?
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Randy, for bringing me back on. We're bringing the cast back on, as I say. You know, we always love watching y'all videos and definitely coming on the show. So we had to do it again.
No, we most definitely have to do it again. And, you know, when you guys throw down, you always are gracious in reading my comments as, you know, as intuitive and as stupid as they may be. And I really appreciate always great passionate talk. Yeah, no, always great to hear you guys throw down at on Voice of the Fans. So, you know, I did mention, fellas, that we were going to talk talk mostly about basketball, but I'd be remiss if I didn't get your opinion on what's going on with the NFL. I mean, it's been, 5-6 weeks since the Super Bowl took place. Well, about a month's time. Mm-hmm. And I gotta say, I am really, really intrigued with what's going on in Pittsburgh. You know, they seem to be rolling the dice with signing Russell Wilson, and they traded Kenny Pickett. They acquired Justin Fields. I mean, it seems, especially with Russell and Fields, Swift, it's definitely a new look for Pittsburgh. Did they get better at all?
Yes, and they are, in my eyes, they got not 10 times better, but they did get better. We saw them make it to the playoffs, you know, without Kenny Pickett, and Kenny Pickett was having an up and down year. And so they bring in Russ to, you know, bolster up that position, which is very important, especially in the AOC. You know, you're going to need not a top tier quarterback. But you need a quarterback to right the ship in that strong conference. So they did an amazing job of bringing in Russ, then go and get Justin Fields for the future. And hey, Justin, if Russell Wilson don't pan out, they only signed for 1 year, guys, so they can get rid of him and keep trucking with Justin Fields. So they did a masterful job of planning, for now and the future, which most teams don't do.
I guess the question that I have is that, of course, it seemed to be a tumultuous time for both Wilson and Fields. I mean, there was a lot of drama between the two. Russ, obviously, in Denver. Fields, obviously, in Chicago. Now, Swift, I know that as a Saints fan, you're going to stay loyal to your man, Sean Payton, who's coach of Denver. Who that nation, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, the reality is that it just did not seem to work out in Denver, and things did seem to improve a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Are you surprised that they did cut the cord when they did with Russ and the Broncos?
Not really, because I think after a while, Sean Payton liked to have his people in the house. And when he got to Denver, he already had the mindset of cleaning house. That's what he did in New Orleans. So I don't know why people are surprised or shocked that he's doing that in Denver. Well, he just shipped out Jerry Jeudy. He cut Justin Simmons. So you see him getting rid of bodies that might not be, adapting to the new philosophy. And that's how he bring in the people he wants. He show people like, hey, I ain't here to play around. I'm here to implement my game plan, my philosophy, and how we do things around here. So he probably make examples of vets to show like, hey, we for real around here, and we want everybody to buy in. And with the whole Russell Wilson thing, everybody's like, oh, Sean Payton, he just didn't know what he's doing. Sean Payton, he brought in injured Drew Brees, reshaped them really, because let's be real, Drew was struggling in San Diego. He was struggling, and that's why they brought in Phillip Rivers to take Drew's job. So Sean Payton, he molded and shaped Drew into this player that we saw today. And Russell Wilson, I don't know, they just weren't on the same page sometimes. It was just a lot of question marks on how Russell was playing, and I understand that coming from a football-minded guy like I am. That I saw problems with Russ, that he just wasn't willing to play within Sean Payton's system, and he had to get out of there. If you ain't gonna play, if you gonna play in Sean Payton's system, man, there's no place for you. So, I think it was just mutual terms. Russell, he knew that him and Sean Payton was just not gonna work out. So,
I just want to jump on Swift's point here because he made a great point about Drew Brees actually and Sean Payton. The NFL, more than any other sport, to its credit, is a system league, meaning the system that's in place for any particular player dictates a lot about how that player's success will be more than any other sport. In the NBA, the player dictates the success more than the system, one could argue. You can't make really that argument in the NFL. The NFL is a system league. Look, he talked about Drew Brees in San Diego. Drew Brees actually, if I recall, had a pretty good final season in San Diego, but he was definitely struggling prior to that. Peyton saw the potential, put him into his system. He was almost on the Miami Dolphins. He was this close to being on the Miami Dolphins. Instead, he's on the Saints, and a legend was created. And that's a large degree because of Sean Payton, his offensive system. They had a complete team for many of those years, and Drew Brees was just allowed to cook in the kitchen with freedom. And this is what you're seeing with Russell Wilson. Now, Russell Wilson is not Drew Brees, but Russell Wilson at one point in his career was a great quarterback. I believe after seeing 2 years of Wilson in Denver, though, that a lot of that Seattle success, more than we probably thought, was because of the system that Pete Carroll instituted and the complete team. They always had a good defense with him around in their formative years. And he had some really good years, but what you saw with Nathaniel Hackett the first year in Denver, man, this guy was one of the worst coach in the NFL, and a lot of that system failures reflected on Russ, as did Russ's own internal failures within himself, and some of the things you heard about his ego and his this and that about whatever.
Yeah.
Last year, I think Russ may have improved a little on his own, but the system improved around him, and you saw a much better Russ. So when you talk about going to Pittsburgh now, Denver ain't no Pittsburgh, and New Orleans ain't no Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is an elite team as far as culture, as far as history, and as far as their coach, Mike Tomlin. This is a guy that every single player respects and can get the best out of guys. And when you look at Pittsburgh, they have a particular system in place that they always prioritize defense and the run game. They don't really prioritize the offensive line, but they always make do because they always have guys such as Ben Roethlisberger, such as Terry Bradshaw. These guys, in my opinion, humble opinion, if they were on other teams, certain other teams, they would not be nearly the legendary players they became. It's because they were on the Steelers within that system, within that culture, that they were able to become potential Hall of Famers. I think Ben Roethlisberger definitely going to be a Hall of Famer, just like Terry Bradshaw.
Oh, sure.
So when we look at Russ, I think the Steelers, just like Swift said, masterful moves because they brought in the vet. If it don't work out, then they have the young gun who will still learn some things from Russ. But they got the young gun that no doubt will benefit from a system. And just to put this also in perspective, if there's any quarterback that can manage themselves within a team that prioritizes the least an offensive line, is probably Justin Fields with his running ability. So you never know how that could be a match made in heaven. I do think that while Russ will be the starter, they're going to run Fields out on a lot of sets, a lot of draw sets, third down and short, goal line stuff, certain packages that you're going to see a lot more of Fields, even if Russ is the unquestioned starter, than you might imagine from a typical backup, because he's definitely going to be they're going to be prepping him for that starter role after next year, or that's just how I envision it. And Mike Tomlin's the guy to do it, I think. Then yes.
Well, I mean, Flowers, I'd hate to move on without getting your thoughts to what Swift said. I mean, obviously, between yourselves and the other members of Voice of the Fans, you guys definitely do get into it when it comes to football. I mean, with what Swift said about Russell Wilson and Justin Fields coming to Pittsburgh, do you think the Steelers improved at all?
I did think they improved. Honestly, I think Mike Tomlin is throwing in all the chips. I think it's something different than what we've been seeing from the organization as far as they have been big on staying in-house and keeping their players and playing their way. I just feel like it's an all the chips move for Mike Tomlin to, first of all, get Russell Wilson on a $1 million deal, which I can't blame him for bringing him in. Let's be real here about Kenny Pickett. I don't even think Kenny Pickett in the past few years has thrown 30 touchdown passes. I think he's might have thrown 25, maybe. That's terrible. Like in a passing league, I'm just being honest. In a passing league, like we see now in the NFL, you have to be productive of some sort. Kenny Pickett was not getting the job done for the talent that Pittsburgh has had. We can sit up here and blame Matt Canada for a sense. But, Kenny Pickett, he had his moments, but when they needed him the most, I feel like he didn't come through. So let's be real here. Mike Tomlin's been there for 10 plus years. I don't think each year is a given for him, so I kind of feel like he feels pressure. So let's get Russell Wilson, bring him in on a year. Let's trade for Justin Fields. Let's not sign him to his fifth-year deal. Instead of for the fifth year, give him the $19, $20 million that he could be due. Let's make them work for it. And if worst case scenario, neither one of them work, both of them off the books, and they can start from scratch.
And I just want to say, I agree with Flowers on this one. Blame Canada. It's like a South Park song. Blame Canada for that one.
Right. With the whole Kenny Pickett thing, I feel like they took Kenny Pickett because it was a slim QB draft in the first place. So they were sitting there with their hands tied behind their back, and Kenny just was right there to take. Cause we even saw Mason Rudolph play better than Kenny, and that's alarming. Mason Rudolph, he's decent, but he should not be playing better than Kenny Pickett, somebody that you will have your future plans in. And that's why invested, right? And that's why he got shipped out, because they already saw what they needed to see. And I wasn't high on Kenny Pickett in the first place. It just felt like that whole QB class was nothing special about those guys.
So it does seem like you guys are all in agreement that Kenny Pickett did have a chance, but just didn't capitalize. I mean, I guess with me, from my perspective, I'm definitely. I mean, you three are definitely more versed in NFL more than me, but I do find it surprising that these two between Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, it seems that they had, I don't know if baggage is the right word, but they definitely did create a lot of attention off the field. And that if you were going to bring one of these two guys in, it would have made, it would have made a little bit of sense to have somebody still in the system like a Kenny Pickett, just so that you did have some familiarity. But it seems that you guys do believe that Pickett had to go.
Sorry, Flowers, go ahead,
man. May I interject? I think Kenny Pickett is gone because of Kenny Pickett. Far as I think he just spoke up and didn't want to be there anymore because he felt a certain way. I think when we seen that he was healthy at the end of the year and they decided to go with Mason Rudolph, because the offense looked more of an offense with Mason Rudolph, looked more polished than with Kenny Pickett. He hadn't played in over a month. I can't remember if he hurt his elbow or his hand or something. I can't remember, or his shoulder. It was something like that. But the offense was fluid. It was moving along. It was doing better without him. They made the playoffs. What more can we say? But I just think Kenny Pickett still could have been there if they signed Russell Wilson. I just think after the signing, he got peed off about it and decided, he wanted to be moved. I kind of feel like Pittsburgh did him a favor, traded him to Philly. He's from Pittsburgh. Philly's a few hours away from, his stomping grounds. I kind of feel like Pittsburgh did him a favor.
Yeah. There was actually a story out that Russell called Kenny Pickett like, hey, Russ, rah type of guy. Hey man, I'm ready to work with you. Let's get it done. Like, let's improve this team, all this positivity and stuff. And they said within 24 hours, Kenny Pickett asked for a trade. Hey, Kenny Pickett was heading to Philly. So that's all you need to know about Kenny. He's like,
But here's the other thing, right? Is that the Steelers, man, this just goes again to show you how just suave and how skilled of an organization they are, top to bottom, man. Is because they sold Pickett low. He was his momentum was going like that. Justin Fields, he had a really good end to last season. It's just a unique situation that the Bears had Carolina's first pick, which ended up going to be Caleb Williams, and that is a very unique situation because Justin Fields is caught sort of in this limbo where he actually was on an upward momentum ending last season. As soon as they got DJ Moore, man, Justin Fields looked like a pretty decent passer. He was the runner that everyone knew and loved. He had a better head about him, better football IQ. I'm not saying he was elite. I'm just saying his upward trajectory was noticeable. The Steelers are going to take that and work with it. But he's on an upward trajectory, and one could even argue that Wilson, even though he's well past his prime, was on an upward trajectory when you compare him to the Nathaniel Hackett year. So they got two guys who are in a recent trend of positive momentum, and they got rid of a guy with a recent trend of negative momentum. And I mean, if you can't respect that for the extremely low price that they're getting these guys for, extremely low, you just have to marvel at the Steelers organization for this, because they, to me, if the chips fall the right way, are Super Bowl contenders after this.
Yeah.
I mean, Flowers, I was a little intrigued that Pittsburgh and Philadelphia made this trade. Now, I could appreciate the fact that the Steelers and the Eagles are not the Eagles and the Cowboys, or the Steelers and the Browns, or I mean, because of that state rivalry, that there has to be something there. I mean, is that I guess an overreach on my end that because I am of the opinion that there is a rivalry between Philly and Pittsburgh, and trading a quarterback, as Pittsburgh
Right.
did. I mean, it did seem like a little bit of a surprise.
Surprising. Let's say on a scale of 1 to 10, far as surprising, I probably rated a 3. And I say that, and you're right, far as in-state rivalry with Philly and Pittsburgh probably was more of a thing when they had the Killer Bees, Roethlisberger, Brown, and Bell, and those Eagle teams were a little more competitive, and then probably earlier 2000s, probably more of a thing compared to now. But it's an AFC team. It was an NFC team. You dump them for a bag of chips. They're just trying to get rid of them. They're trying to get rid of them. So Philly's close. Like I said, a few moments ago, I kind of felt like they did the kid a favor because, man, they could have sent him to a different time zone. They kind of kept him in state. He's from Pennsylvania. He played in Pitt for college. So he's at his own stomping ground. So I kind of feel like Pittsburgh did him a solid. Didn't take him out of his element too much, and he actually goes to a solid team because Philly needed a backup. They lost Mariota, so Pickett could come in. Jalen Hurts gets hurt. There might be a uproar opportunity. But Kenny Pickett, and let's be real here, he's on a better team as far as offensive pieces rather than he had in Pittsburgh because he had a lot of young cats. Deontay Johnson was dropping a lot of balls. George Pickens, he's a great player, but kind of wonder about his ego. You got Pat Freiermuth, and all these guys. Offensive line started coming along. Run game started coming along. But Pickett's in a better position, as far as Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown, Goddard. Offensive line might be it's going to be better. Tackles are definitely better, but I think it's a win-win for both organizations in a sense.
All right.
Totally agree.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, no, and I guess it would be really intriguing if, in fact, Pickett does turn it around and does find some level of success. And hey, I guess maybe learning from a guy like Jalen Hurts wouldn't hurt Pickett either, if in fact Pickett is up for it. But very quickly, I did want to make mention of another Super Bowl victory for the Kansas City Chiefs. This is their third Super Bowl since 2019. And Neel, I'm wondering if the success of the Chiefs rises and falls with Mahomes and Kelsey. Barring an injury, Mahomes should be around for a while. I mean, he's going to be 29 in October, I believe. Kelsey's going to be 35 in October. So Father Time is knocking on the door with Kelsey. He's already, doing some great things with his now retired brother Jason with a podcast. And Neel, I'm not sure if Travis has a new girlfriend, who's quite something. But could the legacy of Mahomes, because he is on that trajectory to be the next Tom Brady, next close to Tom Brady, could that be in jeopardy if Travis Kelce does hang him up, because his contract does go until the end of the 25 season?
Yeah, so first of all, no one should hate Patrick Mahomes more than me as a diehard Bills fan.
Right.
Because I've had Randy, you know this because we're both diehard Raptors fans, and LeBron, a potential arguable GOAT of his sport, was our daddy, LeBronto. And now we got a potential future GOAT of the NFL as my football team's daddy. So I got that dubious honor of having legendary daddies. But the thing is that you got to respect the fact that this guy is on a trajectory, and he has I think a good chance, not great, but good, better than, let's say, maybe a 51% chance of surpassing Brady as the GOAT one day. Nevertheless, he will end up his career as probably the second greatest or greatest. So he's on that LeBron sort of course. In my opinion, losing a Super Bowl to Brady was big, but they were on opposite ends of their career. I understand that. To answer your question, look, both guys would be successful on any team, no matter what. They're that level of elite athlete and football player, more importantly, because their football IQ, their intangibles go well beyond the athletics and physical skills that they bring to the table, both of them. But in particular, Mahomes, I mean, you put him on any team in the league, immediately you're a contender. I would go as far to say that you replace him with Bryce Young on Carolina, they're at least a playoff team with him.
Mm-hmm.
Because look at Tyreek Hill. The guy leaves. Every single person thought that the Chiefs are due for a drawback because one of the top 2-3 receivers in the league had left him. What does he do? He throws the most yards he's done in his career. He throws the second most touchdowns he's thrown in his career. He wins another Super Bowl and he wins another MVP, shutting the door on every single person. And yes, he's got arguably the all-time greatest tight end in history. Yes, that can never really be understated. But he had a bunch of like scrubs beyond that. This goes back to my point of system and team building, because there are certain teams, there are certain dynasties where all of the elements have to come into play. You look at the Pats with Brady. You look at the Niners in the 80s. You look at the Cowboys in the 90s. You look at the Steelers in the 70s. What did they all have? They had legendary coaches. They had excellent team building, and they had a really good quarterback. In most cases, a legendary quarterback. And so when it comes down to it, Mahomes is going to be successful for the rest of his career. He's probably never going to have a losing season as long as he's healthy. And he's probably got at least 2 to 7 more chips in him. Now, it's probably going to be around 5 or 6. I don't think he's going to get to 7. But I think with the way that the NFL game is today, and the fact that you could argue that the first 3 Brady titles were largely on the back of other aspects rather than elite QB play, whereas you cannot say that any of Mahomes' titles that he has gotten so far or will get in his career, they will all be based on his elite QB play to a much larger degree. There's a really good chance he could end up at the GOAT. And to answer your question, he will be successful far beyond Kelsey retiring. But, of course, Kelsey was probably the biggest offensive reason to his success thus far. Him and Andy Reid, of course.
I haven't caught his podcast yet. How is do you Flowers Swift? Do you guys catch Travis and
I can barely catch my own, so.
But you know, I mean, sorry, Swift. Were you guys saying something?
Oh no, I said no. I never listened. So I watched the clips that ESPN or Bleacher Report might put out. That's about it.
He does seem they do seem to have a good thing going, and you know, I know that you three must be aware that LeBron James is now going to be dipping in the podcast.
Yeah, that's
pool.
all right.
I listened to it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you know, I didn't
first
catch
episode.
any of it. You know, no better time like the present. I mean, you guys find it a little weird that I mean, it just seems that you know, the biggest news out of LeBron James is the success of his kid at USC, and now this podcast with JJ Redick. You know, JJ Redick has developed quite a name after retirement and in broadcasting circles, but I mean,
well, I listened to that first episode today, with the first episode of that podcast with LeBron and JJ. And I will say this, LeBron, I mean, everyone knows he's got a Mount Rushmore level basketball IQ. He could teach anybody the game and the X's and O's. I just found that the way he was speaking, it was a lot of like self-appreciation and self-grandization that he was giving to himself. He was talking about the things that piss him off, like guys who can't flip a play that's called if they want to go left, but if the point guard happens to be left-handed, they'll run it right instead. That guys couldn't run that, or guys don't know how to run out of timeout play or his problems with the 2-for-1 at the end of the shot clock type thing. I hope that this is just getting the jitters out, because I really want to see LeBron talk more about people who have come before him, what he appreciates about that, and also take a less, central look at his analysis. He has to be more unbiased. He has to be almost like an analyst without injecting himself into the conversation. And it's hard because it's the first episode, and I think JJ Redick had sort of a mental obligation that he's got to show love to the king. But it's not really analytics if LeBron's the topic of his own damn podcast. That being said, he's right about everything. I just wish he wouldn't spell it out in a grandiose type of manner.
Swift, I know that RC is a big LeBron James fan. Ronnie Clark, unfortunately, he wasn't able to join us tonight. But what are your thoughts on LeBron and this podcast venture? I mean, he still is an active player, and he's still an important piece to the Lakers. Like, in a general sense, I mean, what are your thoughts about this podcast that LeBron's going to start doing with JJ Redick?
Of course, he would do a podcast. I don't know why it shocked me when I saw the news that he was on the podcast. Cause he liked to praise himself. He liked to glaze his stats. Like, oh, did you see? What I did in the tournament, in season tournament, the bubble tournament, how it was the hardest championship, I ever won. So, he just liked to speak about on different topics and let his voice be the reason. So that's why I feel like his podcast is gonna be like his opinion is gonna be the best opinion out there, point blank. Wherever the king says, it goes, right? And I feel like JJ gonna boost him up. Like, yeah, man, great comment, King. Great comment, King. You hit it around the nail. You hit it around the head, man. That's why you greatest of all time. So that's why I feel like that's what his podcast will be mostly about his endeavors, what he think about the game of basketball, what he think about players or what's going on. Like you mentioned, the things he hates. I'm pretty sure that's what he named the segment. The things LeBron James hate. So he probably gonna have top. He probably gonna have topic number one. Let's talk about my rings. Topic number two. Let's talk about why Jordan's not the GOAT. Topic number three. Let's talk about how can I bring my son to play with me. It's gonna be just LeBron topics. So yeah.
I will say there was a funny moment in the podcast where they were talking X's and O's, and LeBron made a comment about how JJ Redick only had two decisions to make as a player. Either he was going left or he was going right off the screen. And if the big man dropped under the screen, he was given a pass or he was shooting. And you could tell that JJ Redick got a little miffed that LeBron minimized his game to literally two decisions. That's all he did as a player. And then JJ was like, no. On Philly, I did this and that, and I would read this and that. And LeBron's response was, oh, okay. I was mainly talking about your Clipper days.
He ain't gonna be wrong on his podcast. That's one thing you're not gonna give him at. He's not gonna be wrong.
Yeah. I mean, and Flower. I first of all, I do apologize because I didn't really prepare y'all for this kind of topic here. But I mean, we are seeing a lot of active NBA players get into the podcast world, and it would be foolish of us to think that these guys are all about basketball, all about practicing, that they had to stay focused to the game, that whatever their off court activities include, whether it be music, whether it be collecting expensive cars, or whatever the case is. But you're seeing it now with Patrick Beverley. You're seeing it now with Paul George. Danny Green had a podcast before he had retired.
Trae Young had one.
Sorry?
Trae Young.
Yeah, Draymond Green, of course. Is it? Do you think that this is something that we are going to see going forward? Not only with the NBA, but NFL players that they are going to take part in broadcasting opportunities and podcast opportunities. Flowers, what do you think?
I think this is the beginning of more players starting to do this. Like you hear Draymond Green, for example, talking far as players not having their own narratives and being able to make the narrative, and the media making it for them for so long, they weren't able to speak out on it. So now these podcasts and social media give them the chance to reflect, defend themselves, and just talk in general. And people do want to hear what these players have to say. I'm gonna be honest. I enjoy hearing players talking about matchups and how life was in the NBA. Like I love listening to who am I Q Rich and Darius Miles on that podcast. Love that podcast. I listen to Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson. Honestly, now that we're talking about LeBron, I'm actually surprised that he's doing a podcast while he's playing. I thought this probably would have been something he would have did after he got done, because I would think he want to go around, everybody's giving him his basketball flowers and this and that. I thought that he would have went around and blessed some podcasts, but at the same time, I'm not surprised. I do agree with Neel and Ben far as LeBron's going to use this to boast himself. This is a money-making opportunity. Where there's money to be made, players will be. They're not going to miss a chance to make out on extra money, but LeBron James, to me, will not miss a chance to let people know that I was a passer first, score second. Stats say elsewise. LeBron has always been able to control the narrative from when he was in high school to now. So that's not going to change in basketball life nor the podcast life. Like being said, JJ is not going to be able to one up him. And look, we've seen JJ get on TV and correct Stephen A. and show you how brilliant his mind is as far as basketball IQ. But to get on there and probably be second fiddle to LeBron, that's what's going to happen. He's going to be second. LeBron is going to be able to show it and gloss his mind, and JJ, he'll be a second lead to it.
Be a yes man.
It's almost like I don't know if any of y'all have listened to the Tom Brady podcast with Jim Gray, but it's really it's a Tom Brady podcast in this sense that this is a LeBron James podcast, but the role of JJ Redick is to actually host the podcast and to do most of the talking and to lead and guide LeBron through all the different topics. And LeBron just freestyles. He probably does minimal preparation because he could just do everything off the top, as can Tom Brady. They don't, and they have someone, the other guy, JJ Redick or Jim Gray, that does all the preparation, handles all the nuances of the format, the topics, and everything, the asking the questions to other people, and they just take part in the conversation. So it's personally though, look, I don't want to talk too much bad about LeBron because he is top 2 greatest player of all time, and if there's anyone I would want to listen to X's and O's explanations of the game, it's probably he's on this short list. So I'll give it some life. I'll listen to a few episodes and I'll make my decision after about a little while longer.
Yeah.
You let me know how it is, guys.
You're not going to go in on it, are you, Swift?
Yeah, I'm not kicking out doors and turning on my.
Well, I ain't ready for the Draymond Green podcast yet, man. I got enough drama in my life.
Yeah, I mean, Patrick Beverley. I don't know, like
it's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I hear that he is engaging. Like I have.
You know what the funniest? I don't know if I've ever lived to an episode, but one of the funniest guys that I never would have guessed was this funny is Jeff Teague, Club 520.
I love.
Oh my God, him and his boys, man, they are hysterical. They are hysterical. Check them out on Instagram. The clips that they throw down, it is more of a comedy podcast than anything else. They talk basketball. He tells epic NBA stories. Does Jeff Teague? But it's really fun. It's a great group of guys that feed into that comedy and that sort of hip hop sort of. It's very very good.
Yeah, that's how it should be though with athletes. They should tell the background stories that we don't get to see or hear. I like to hear when Magic tell how he went against Isaiah and all this type of stuff. So we need more stories like that, not
Not
more
Draymond Green
opinionated
giving
type
his
stuff.
one-sided point of why he punched Nurkic.
Hey, Nurkic, man, I couldn't be Nurkic. I had to come back at Draymond.
It's too late
Yeah.
now. He should have
Yeah,
came
too
back
late.
at him when it happened.
Well, I mean, I think Yusuf got to Draymond right away when he says that that brother got problems. I mean, I think you could print that on a T-shirt, and
Right.
10 out of 10 basketball fans will know who said that and what it was regarding.
It comes off as soft, though, in my opinion, because in my opinion, I feel like Draymond punked him when he hit him because that was the perfect chance for somebody to retaliate and prove, that nobody's scared of Draymond. Instead, that happens. He goes to the locker room and says what he says, and it just comes off as fearful. And the only reason I say that because the last 1 or 2 times you've seen him play, now Nurkic is trying to be aggressive and show that he's not scared and intimidated by him. Man, you missed the chance the first time.
Right.
Draymond's not gonna take you serious.
As soon as you saw Rudy Gobert getting choked out, you should have done something right there and there. You're like, I ain't gonna be Rudy.
Well, I mean, like,
let me just say this: that Draymond knows how to pick his spots. Draymond does his research. He knows which guys he can hit. He knows that Isaiah Stewart on Detroit will never be in his crosshairs for good reason.
Yeah, you got that right.
Rudy Gobert, Jordan Poole, he's got a very strong sense of who he can go after and who he will not go after. And to his credit, that's Draymond. He's an instigator, and he's one of the all-time great instigators in history. And to his team's credit, they've won a lot more success off of his instigation than they've detrimented.
True. I don't know. If I caught that flying right by Draymond Green, you'd be referring to me as the late Randy Katarey, because there's no chance that I would have survived that. And I'm surprised that Yusuf got up when he did, because, I mean, that was a vicious cross. I mean, but I don't know.
And Jordan Poole is this close away from playing in China off of Draymond.
Right.
Yeah.
Poor Jordan Poole.
Yeah. Well, anyway.
He got a bag for it, though.
He got the bag.
Yeah. Well,
he got the bag sitting on the bench.
Yeah. I mean, you got to wonder if Golden State's regretting. I mean, maybe their hands were tied because it is Draymond Green. He led him to, at the time, it was 3 championships. But then you get rid of Jordan Poole, and then, now Draymond. I mean, is he cleaning his act now? It just seems that every time that he gets into foul trouble or something, he's doing something ridiculous. And I don't know.
Well, there's a reason that it's crazy that we got on this Draymond topic, but there is a reason. There is a reason that Steph Curry and Steve Kerr and Klay Thompson have never, not in one even iota, swayed anything against Draymond in what they've said or what they've acted. They have always had his back, no matter how crazy he's been acting. And that's because they understand how essential he's been to their success.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, perhaps, but I mean, like, have you ever seen a teammate or a coach just really sewer a guy who, you had this crazy success? I mean,
oh man, there's a lot of guys that careers have ended or their relationships with their teams have ended off an incident that was half as bad as Draymond's 10th worst incident. Yeah, but Draymond has that clout. He may over abuse it at times now, but he's earned it. That's for sure.
Yeah, that was the incident with the Saints when Michael Thomas and CJ Gardner-Johnson got into it, and it was kind of like the downfall for CJ Gardner because he was getting cut from team by team. So it happens with teammates.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm sure it has every now and then, but I guess with the legacy that Steph, Klay, Draymond, and Steve Kerr had built in Golden State, it's
can't trump it.
Yeah,
you're right.
Yeah, for sure. Despite because Jordan Poole is Steph's brother-in-law or something like that, isn't it? Like, isn't there
yeah, I heard something like that. I can't remember what exactly it is.
Yeah, so
but
I guess in Golden,
Well, if you think about it, most of the great dynasties in NBA history had a great instigator on their team. The only one that really didn't, as far as I can really tell, is the Spurs, but they were more of a spread out dynasty, not a dynasty within sort of a
Sure.
few years.
Well,
You had
Bruce Bowen.
Dennis Rodman for the Bulls. You had Lane Beer for the back-to-back Pistons. You had McHale for the Celtics. You had Rambis for the Lakers as well in the 80s. Like,
Well, how long did Bruce Bowen stick around in San Antonio?
okay, yeah. You know, Bruce Bowen was
Yeah,
the closest thing they had to that.
Yeah,
I
that
would
was the
say.
closest thing they had.
And it was
Nah,
perfect.
he was that block. He was that defender. He was their defensive specialist, as you would say.
Yeah.
But Neel could attest that Bruce Bowen, he was the one who started the whole foot, impeding in someone's, jumping space because.
Oh yeah,
Neel, wasn't it?
Hey, Randy, if that's the case, we got to be very thankful to Bruce Bowen. You realize this, right? Because Kawhi Leonard's injury in San Antonio was off of that same thing that Zaza Pachulia did, which ruined his relationship with San Antonio, which led us to a championship, baby.
Yeah.
So we got to thank Bruce Bowen. Thank you, Bruce Bowen.
Send him a card. Send him a card.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, hey, speaking of championships, why don't we head over to the Division I men's basketball tournament? March Madness is about to get underway. They do have the first 4 matchups going on as we tape tonight's podcast. The first round will be going for both the men's and women's divisions on Thursday. And, I did want to ask Swift Flowers who you got your eyes on for this tournament. But, I would like to ask as well, if March Madness is as exciting as it once as is, like the excitement level for March Madness, is it the same over the past 20, 30 years? Neel and I, we're a couple years older than you guys, and we could remember the Hall of Fame class that we're seeing stay the 4 years with their said colleges, and now there's one in 1 year, one and dones. There was of course a big stretch of time where players went straight out of high school, LeBron James of course being one of them. What do you guys think the excitement level is in your country with March Madness? I mean, is it still as strong as it was, say, in the 80s or 90s? Or maybe 15, 20 years ago?
Okay, you want me to answer?
Yeah,
okay, I can
you
answer
take
this
this.
first. No. Randy, hell no. Excuse my language if I can't cuss on here.
No, of course
No.
you can. By all means.
Go ahead, my dear sir.
It's not even close. Look, from comparing the 80s, the 90s, even the early to the mid 2000s to now, oh man, the NCAA is crumbling at our eyes, man. As far as they can't keep a hold on football, they can't keep a hold on basketball. Honestly, the tournament is the only thing saving the NCAA. I remember probably about 40 years ago when the NIT was more valuable, 40, 50 years ago when the NIT was the actual better tournament until the NCAA came in and started taking major teams and making it their tournament. Honestly, Randy, the women's game is more popular than the men's game. Hell, honestly, I can't name you 5 men players. I can name you 5 women's players. And that's great for the women, but that's not great for the men. And I can go on and on about why. The main reason of why this is happening because everybody is trying to get to the NBA so quick. So, especially after we seen LaMelo go to Lithuania and come back and get drafted 2nd overall. So you have the G League Ignite, you have this, you have that. Amongst the kids internationally that have been doing that, and I'll never knock that. That's the pipeline for international players. That's been going on for 30, 40 years now. But it's too many venues over here with the G League Ignite, this and that, and it's taken away from the college game. So I can't name you. Let's see. You had Brandon Miller. He went to the Hornets. Okay, last year he's okay, but Bankero went to Duke. Other than that, you kind of like, I don't know. I don't know who am I looking at, especially
Well, I mean,
nowadays.
Right.
was I mean, I guess as we're saying, you guys tell me because you're definitely closer to the action. But Anthony Edwards is obviously taking off and is projected to be a real star in
Right.
the league. But I for one didn't really hear much out of Georgia.
Georgia
How
wasn't a
about
good team. They wasn't a good team.
so there weren't a good team. So you guys I mean, did he have that star potential?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
You say this is the thing with Anthony Edwards. Georgia really hasn't never been a good team in the SEC. But when he went there, I mean, he was the number one player in the country. He's from Georgia. He wanted to stay close to home. The team was bad, but he stood out like a sore, like a sore thumb. The kid would come in, drop 25, 30 plus points. I think he had a few comebacks against some good teams, but the athleticism, the skill, you've seen it. It just, like I said, it just stood out like a sore thumb. And, that'd be the difference with some of these kids.
And you can say the same thing about Kawhi Leonard on San Diego State.
Yeah.
You can say the same thing about Steph Curry on Davidson.
Well, yeah, I mean, absolutely. However, when we did see the Anthony Davises out of Kentucky, you saw Carmelo out of Syracuse. Star players did come from the elite schools, and it does seem that now we're seeing a trend of John Morant coming from Murray State. I mean, what's Murray State? I mean, maybe you guys tell me again. If they are a school that may rise through the ranks. I mean, I'm thinking of Gonzaga. No.
Gonzaga is probably the mid-major that turns into a blue blood that you're most familiar with. Like McCollum went to Lehigh. You get stories like that when
Damian
you get
Lillard.
kids like Damian Lillard. Where did Damian Lillard go? Weber State. He was Weber State. You get stories like that, but that just goes to what I'm saying. Those kids or young men, they stand out. They're unique. So you see, you seen the bounce from John Morant when he was at Murray State. You seen when C.J. McCollum beat Duke in the tournament at Lehigh. You seen Damian Lillard at Weber State beat Damian Lillard that you see now. It's just a uniqueness. And like Neel was saying, I remember when Kawhi. See, we remember this stuff when he was at San Diego State. They almost won the whole damn thing. That was a great team. I remember that.
Right. I mean, I guess. Flowers and Swift. I mean, knowing in the brief time that we have crossed paths, I know that RC is a Michigan guy. Do you guys have do you guys pledge allegiance to a school specifically for college sports?
No.
Yeah, with basketball, I just watch. I used to like Duke growing up and everything, but that was because Duke was high at the time. It was really good school to watch and everything. But now I just watch it. Whoever plays, we don't have a favorite.
Yeah. I do apologize, for bringing this up, because it wasn't really part of the lineup that I did provide you guys.
Okay.
But I mean,
that's the best. The best part usually come off the cuff.
Yeah,
all the time.
Well, I mean, the question I did want to ask, and this is open to the floor, but do you think the NBA or even FIBA should get into and mandate players stay longer in a recognized college program? I mean, I think G League Ignite kind of screws everything up, and but is there more that maybe the NBA could do, or should they do? Yeah. Well, Flowers, do you think that the NBA should get involved, step in?
They don't want to create the problem, so yes, they need to step in and fix it. far as there's nothing wrong with the international gap, as far as that pipeline. Now, the college game is suffering because the United States kids, they can go 5 different ways from Sunday. All right. If you want to improve the college game, because let's be real here, it's about money. Like I say, the tournament is the only thing that's still saving the NCAA and college basketball because in about 5 years, I can see these conferences breaking off and they becoming this big Power Five and just kicking the NCAA to the side. But until then, if the NBA wants to fix its game and the college game, I think there should be a mandatory 2 year thing. You go to school, go to 2 years. If you really want to help the college game, there should be a minimum of 2 years. These kids should go to college and play, especially nowadays with the NIL and the transfer portal and this and that. The college game should be more intriguing, in my opinion, but it's not. You know, but I would think NIL would make it better. But if you want to make the game better, we just need to get the best players in the state, not to go to G League at night. They need to go to college and rep the school names on the front.
Because it does seem that when those college players got into the NBA 25 years ago, they definitely did seem a little bit more polished. I mean, you take a look at, for every Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson, I mean, LeBron James does seem like he's pretty put together himself. I mean, this latest couple years aside, worried about how his
LeBron's Haley's comic, and I always say that because he came in the league at 18, was about 220-ish, maybe a little bigger, 6'8", and could give you 20 plus. But his frame and his body for the time that he came in, as far as how the game was coming off physicality, hand checks, it's in that him to come in at that young age and perform. Only a handful of people done it. Garnett, who else? Kobe, 2-3 years in.
Yeah.
But LeBron came in from the rip and took sole responsibility of the team.
And I think another factor that to consider when Flowers' point about how the European pipeline is so, I mean, it's just a fact that the European players, on average, like pound for pound, are better players than the American players in today's NBA and today, across the world. One could argue. One factor that is definitely there is the system in which American-born kids are coming up. The AAU system in particular is based upon a lack of fundamentals, style over substance, a multitude of games. Wear and tear is crazy on these kids. And the clout that they feel that they have achieved by becoming social media popular figures. We look at and I like this kid's game, but LaMelo Ball is a perfect example of an AAU superstar who he lacks fundamentals, but he has skill. And I just see that being a detriment to his career, his longevity. You could already see. And whereas, for example, just, going back to this LeBron podcast, they talked about the figures in their lives, basketball wise, who influenced them and who they had reverence towards. They both talked about their high school coaches, their junior high coaches, and their college coaches in JJ's with Coach K. And you see that Michael Jordan says the only man he ever feared in life was Dean Smith.
Right.
And I just do not see a future in which you ask these young men who were their influences coming up, and I don't see many AAU coaches being shouted out, to be honest. And that just tells you right there that that is another factor that I think leads to the poorer product from a fundamental perspective than what the years past had, and leads to a much greater learning curve for American-born kids entering the NBA that the European players don't have.
May I interject? Neel, Randy, and I think Ben will agree with me when I say this. The United States has lost value in hard work, and morals as far as respect of the game, the preparation of the game, because I think the problem is money because there's so much money to be made. And money is everything is about money. Money, 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 money. All right. So people, especially the NBA, they're making 30, 40, $50 million a year. They're young, they're self-entitled. To Neil's point, AAU basketball is not about trying to make kids better as far as learning the game and being competitors, because a lot of these kids are just teaming up, they're shaking hands, they just want the glitz and the glam, the fame, the glam, and all that. So AAU is just a glorified tournament within these summers. These kids are not getting better. They just, like I said, they're just trying to build their next pathway into making a dollar. That's the biggest problem over here. Overseas, their structure, these kids are 13, 14 years old, becoming professionals. It's a craft, it's a job compared to it being over here is, I'm trying to make a buck and trying to come up the quickest way I can. So like RC would tell you, you got drug dealers and this and that running AAU teams. Like I said, it's a glorified league. I don't feel like the parents help over here. And I know it sounds like I'm going on a bash. I'm just being honest. The parents don't help because, like I say, everybody wants their baby to be the next one. And like I say, it's just more about let's find out what we can make a dollar. Do this and that. Let's promote ourselves. It's not about the game. That's the problem.
Right.
I think the thing that I'm kind of wondering is that, look, I mean, we have all seen parents thinking their child is going to be the next, Patrick Mahomes, LeBron James, Mike Trout. I mean, that isn't new. I am wondering, however, if we're noticing a lot more, especially with NBA players, because they immediately scratch themselves out of games for load management. Now, I'm definitely of the opinion, Neel, I think will agree with me, that Kawhi Leonard may have had a legitimate reason why he didn't play as many games with Toronto.
Oh, yeah.
You would think, Swift Flowers, I know that you're not overly versed in hockey. You may know the name Bobby Orr. Bobby Orr is one of the most legendary hockey players to ever play the game. He only played 10 years because of bad knees. My example is, what if Bobby Orr did load management when he did play in the 60s and 70s? I'm thinking that he would be able to get a couple more years in him. And I mean, Flowers, it kind of reminds me to when we were talking the first time I came on Voice of the Fans, and you asked me about the state of American stars in the NBA. And because the legends, the accomplished, those who actually have a legit stake in NBA success are in their later years. You think of Kevin Durant, you think of LeBron, Steph Curry. If you want to throw Derrick Rose in that list as well, because he did win an MVP, and I mean, of course, that was a number of years ago. That we are seeing the next generation not play as not take as many games off. I mean, John Morant is out injured, but I mean, I don't know if I see a lot of load management amongst the kids. I mean, do you guys think I'm off on this one?
No, I don't think you off. The younger generation, they play the John Morants, and Edwards. It's the Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. The younger kids play. I think the issue with the load management thing was And I think we kind of blame COVID for this because COVID threw a lot of things off, far as people being
Mhm.
out, taking time out and
Mm-hmm.
stuff. I think it's kind of wrong to think that it's the players' fault because they'll come out and tell you that it's also management and the teams that sit these players down and tell them we don't want you playing today. I don't think it's just all on the players. So I'm not gonna just put it all on them because it's medical staff, GMs, owners. If they don't want these players playing, they just send the word and
Mhm.
it can happen. So I don't want to be too hard on them, but
Because
you seen
I do
things
have
with
to.
Ben Simmons. Go ahead.
No, sorry, and you're making a great point with Ben Simmons, and I'd love to hear your comment beyond this. But
That's not
I
load
heard
management. That's something different.
that definitely is
That's
something
mental
different.
management.
That's
No,
That's
it's
what it is. That's mental management.
Ben Simmons already got his bag, and he's too damn lazy potentially. But
I don't think
yeah,
he liked basketball since playing at LSU, to be honest.
but if I was a guy like Greg Popovich, excuse me, if I was a guy like Greg Popovich, and I have a potential legend in Victor Wembanyama, and he is on a god awful team in San Antonio, why am I going to keep running him out for 82 games at 35 plus minutes?
He's on a minute restriction now.
That's what I'm saying. And there
Don't
is
blame him.
something. No, I'm not blaming Victor. I actually think that this is a good idea on
It
San
is.
Antonio's part.
I agree. He
Yeah.
doesn't need to be out there
Well,
all 82. He's 18. His body's frail. He's not played this many games before. So he doesn't need to play. I don't think he plays no more than 30 minutes. And I'm quite sure at the end of the season, they might rep him up a little bit because it's the end of the season. But he probably can play a back to back here, but there's no need to, like you say, he's playing on a terrible team to put extra wear and tear on him. Just bring him along, get him acclimated. We know he can play. Let's go. Let's go to next year. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree as
so
well.
my question is like, why would you want to save him if he's that young? Because like you said, young players are not sitting out. So are you just saying like this is a lost season? Like it's no reason to play, or
No, I'm not saying it in that sense. Well, obviously it's a lost season because we knew they were going to be terrible. But
Mhm.
why play him 35 minutes and risk him getting hurt and possibly losing him when you can, like I said, just bring him along? He's only 18. He's a baby. He's not even a man yet. So bring him along. Let his body get strong. He went from playing 2 games a week to going back to back, and we'll play, the next night after the night.
I think it's if you talk about Wemby, that's a very special case though, and what applies to him does not apply to 99% of other players because Wemby is a sure thing. There ain't no question about it. If he stays healthy, he's a future Hall of Famer, multiple championships, multiple MVPs. Ain't no question about it. Health is the only thing that's deterring that destiny. And when you got a guy that's an unquestioned future, you don't fuck with that. But if, say, you have a number one pick that, and I'm just going to say a name that just came to my mind, like Cade Cunningham. You know that he's good. Is he great, though? That's the type of guy that even if he's on a bad team, you want to see if he can handle the load, the minutes, the games. Does he got that dog in him? You don't know those things fully, like with that type of number one pick that you would with Victor Wembanyama, to be honest, if he averages only 25 minutes per game, let's say his whole career, he's still going to be a Hall of Famer. That's just how good the kid is. And you see it already with the small sample size we have. So he's a different type of audition for future. In his case, preservation is a smart route, just like it was with Kawhi Leonard when he came to Toronto. We knew what he was. There was no sense in rolling him out for 82 games, especially since the Raptors already had proven early on that they can win against bad teams without him, no problem. You wanted to, and they did that was the masterpiece of load management because he was healthy the entire playoffs. He had a legendary playoff run. And that's, I think, what every team is going to use as a blueprint going forward, to be quite honest. But in the case of Wemby, that's a special case and doesn't apply to most other top picks.
So I have a quick question then, since we talking about load management, and that it might be the staff or the coaches that might be pushing load management. So should teams or owners should they consider lessening the NBA games? Shrinking it from 82, right?
Mm-hmm.
82 games. Should they shrink it down to what 60 maybe?
Yeah, I think to answer your question, the less games is the more meaningful it is per game.
That's true.
82 games only serves the league and the owners, nobody else. Less games serves the fans, in my opinion, because, hey, man, look, it gets a lot, all these games. If it, let's say it was 50 games in a season, I would be a lot more excited to watch a regular season matchup in general, on average, than I would with this 82 game thing, because that's just the nature of the beast in the NFL. That you could just point at the NFL right there.
Yeah, I agree with that. If there was less NBA games, I'd definitely tune in. Cause I know that, like you said, every game counts. You can't be slacking off because you never know what's going to happen. Just like the NFL, every week from week 1 to week 17, no wins count. So you better get them while you can. Right.
Let's fix the NBA right here, guys. Neel, perfect statement. If I'm going to fix the NBA, and after I say this, I'm going to say something else. Let's 58, 66 games, somewhere in there. Let's start it on Christmas Day. Let's start it on Christmas Day.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. Okay, so here's
late November.
See, I was
Christmas Day.
No, I would start it in early October and end it at the same time you end it now. There's not games every 2 days. Every team plays 2 to 3 games a week max. Instead of 3 to 4, it becomes 2 to 3.
I agree.
And then you may not have the amount of like sometimes you see these Wednesday and Saturday or Wednesday and Friday and Monday slates. You got like 12 games on. It's like
well, yeah, there's no way you can watch on. Yeah. There's too many going on at one time.
And what would the NBA want? Because to be honest, if they had 50 games instead of 80 games, yes, you have a lot less games, but how much is the viewership per game go up when you have less games per night and more meaning per game? They've done the math. I'm sure they have, and they realize that profit is number one. Just like you said, money, the cream.
Yeah,
that rules everything around me, and that's why the NBA and all these other pro sports operate, unfortunately, to the detriment of us as fans.
Yeah, you got that right. Kind of NFL added on an extra game. Our football players like, well, you gotta give us 2 bye weeks. If you added on more games, you gotta give us more days off. So, yeah,
they said we'll take away a preseason game. They say we don't play it anyways.
Yeah, we don't play it anyway.
2 preseason games.
Well, I think that's a good start. Like Neel, you kind of tiptoed around what I would want to do by stretching the season from end of October to, I guess, the NBA Finals is in the middle of June. Have it started in September. I mean, I guess the problem is that you are running through the baseball playoffs. And of course,
NFL,
college football and yeah, you may not want to do that either. I guess is there? I think that there is something to back-to-backs, perhaps, because hey, look, these players are out there for 35 plus minutes. The majority of it is a sprint. You see a sport like hockey, guys, and I'll tell you right now that an average elite hockey player maybe plays 20 out of the 60 minutes. So they're playing around a third of the game. And meanwhile, the LeBrons, the throw in Anthony Edwards, you throw in all these elite players, they're playing 75, 80, 85% of the game. I think that there is something to back-to-backs. Maybe they could eliminate it.
Yeah,
or reduce it significantly.
To be honest, Randy, that's a fantastic just suggestion right there. Just eliminate back-to-backs. Whatever you got to do to get rid of back-to-backs, keep the season the same length. I think that would be fantastic. Fantastic.
But okay, so I mean to that, because like in the summer, what do you have going on in the summer? You have baseball. If you are into soccer with Major League Soccer, you don't really have a heck of a lot going on other than families wanting to, bust their kids out of school, go on vacation for a couple of weeks. But, hey, Flowers, you were suggesting to start the season on Christmas. Why not have the finals around 4th of July weekend?
I agree. That was one of the reasons I said push it later towards Christmas. And I'm only reason I'm saying that is because I'm thinking about viewership far as NFL is king.
Right.
College football will probably come in second. Like I said, the baseball playoffs will be around, like I say, September, October-ish. So there'll be a viewership there. But the NBA has lost viewership. Let's be honest here. People are not tuning in. That's why we're making the recommendations of maybe shortening the season. I just think it'd be more pop because the anticipation of people wanting basketball to start. College football will pretty much be wrapped up. You'll be in the bowl season. They'll be towards the end. The NFL will be, on that third leg. But, of course, NFL is king. And maybe December is too far, but I'm thinking of getting us through the dead spots that we're in when July, especially the whole month of July, we're waiting for the NFL training camps and stuff. So maybe if we could get the NBA to carry us onward through July into August, that would, get us better through the summer and get us closer to football. That's my thoughts on it.
Yeah, during we call them dead seasons where there's nothing really going on. That's why you see SFL, the new football league, they gearing towards that empty dead season where nobody not really tuning in to sports. They try and give you something to watch. So that'll be something the NBA might want to consider is moving the games into the dead season. That way people will have to watch because they'll have nothing else to watch. Like, okay, let's tune into the NBA games and see what's going on. I think that'll give people more excitement to watch these games because, NBA be forefront in that dead space type season. And like I said, SFL, they got a great idea. I mean, take over that space. Nobody else doing it.
I agree.
It's funny. My birthday is on the 3rd of August, and a friend of mine, another big sports geek like me, he said, "Man, if for a sports fans perspective, your birthday's on the worst time of the year." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" I mean, it is long weekend here in the province of Ontario, but I mean, like you got baseball going, and then I was like, "Oh, wait a minute, yeah, that's it." I mean, there's nothing else going on other than baseball. I mean, then soccer came in, but it's funny during the COVID year. The Raptors were playing Miami on my birthday, and I was like, "Yes, I'm so and they were still defending NBA champs, and I was like, "Yes, I'm going to be able to watch the Raptors on my birthday." And I took a nap, and I missed the entire game. I couldn't believe it. It was the worst. But I did want to bring to the table, guys, before we get on to the NBA and what we could expect for the stretch drive, I'm thinking the number one overall pick, the one with the most hype, is Caitlin Clark. I could not tell you a top 3 projected NBA, pick to go in the NBA draft. Flowers, before we went to air, you mentioned that the top player you wouldn't be surprised would be coming out of Europe, but I mean, it's just amazing how Caitlin Clark has just grabbed the sports world by storm. Of course, she got the record for most points in NCAA history, and it just seems I believe Indiana has the first pick.
Yes,
cool. And I mean, hey, could it very well be possible that when it comes to next year's jersey sales, that the top jersey could very well be Caitlin Clark?
Next year, how about the next few months? I think the WNBA draft is right around the corner. Like she's a lock in to go to Indiana. I honestly think Caitlin Clark and this draft, I think Angel Reese might be in this draft and a few other people. This is a draft for the WNBA that might get them over the hump far as viewership.
Yeah.
And it might start changing how they make money. They might start getting the sponsorships and other things to help bolster the league and put seats, and make money for the organization, but put seats in and eyes on the TVs. I think Caitlin Clark has a chance to really, really go to Boston. Well, go to Indiana and play with Aaliyah Boston, and those two be pretty good for foreseeable future. I'm pretty excited to see it more than the men. See,
Right,
see
exactly.
more than the men.
But see, I'll be honest, man. The way that she plays her game, and the fact that the NBA is this soft finesse league that it is today, I'm pretty sure she could come in and average 12 to 15 points a game, no problem.
Yeah.
And yeah, I got no doubt about that.
Well,
And,
yeah, I gotta say, Neel, Toronto's just tapping their foot for a WNBA franchise. I mean, I think, I think that Toronto as well as Vancouver would be absolute locks. I mean, you have a potential rivalry, a geographic rivalry with Seattle. They did have a preseason game in Toronto at Scotiabank Arena. It was a sellout. And I don't think it was just because it was a flash in the pan. I mean, I think that there's such an appetite for women's sports, especially in our neck of the woods, guys, that WNBA better get their act together and find some way to get a team in Toronto.
absolutely.
All right.
And we got one of the most multicultural cities in the world, so it's ripe for the picking, man. Ripe for the
This
picking.
would have been the perfect time to do it. Could have made an expansion team. They could have had the first pick.
Right.
You placed
Caitlin Clark in Toronto. Oh man,
my God.
man, I don't know. I think you know how David Stern, he made sure that these conspiracy. I could go into conspiracy theories about the NBA.
Oh yeah,
all day long. Patrick Ewing. It was not destiny that put him in New York. I could tell you, it was somebody's sleight of hand, that magic card trick that David Stern, the magician David Stern, just whoop.
That is true.
Look at there.
And to be honest, some other cases as well, but I won't get into that. Sometimes.
But wait a minute. If I'm not mistaken, Toronto's first pick in their first draft was Damon Stoudemire. Yes. Vancouver had Bryant Big Country Reeves, and the first pick was Joe Smith. So I'm pretty happy with Damon. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah. I think that's why I lost some graphics for tampering on that one too.
Yeah. So, guys, why don't we make our way over to the NBA? And, of course, there is quite a bit of potential. There's quite a bit of potential into who could make an appearance to the NBA Finals. Flowers, who do you think has the momentum going as we get into the stretch run for the regular season of the NBA playoffs? I mean, there's a lot of teams cooking right now. Who do you think could make that run and get themselves into the big dance?
I can go with the obvious, of course, to say Denver. That's easy. We're just going to put them in a tier by themselves. Let's talk about somebody else. Let's talk about the Pelicans.
Oh, I like
the
it.
Pelicans.
I like
okay.
it. I like it.
Oh, okay.
The Pelicans have been on a hot tear, man. I think they're like 15-5 in the last 20, if I'm not mistaken. Zion has been great. He looks like he's in really, really, really good shape.
Mm-hmm.
They have length, Herb Jones, Ingram. They got shooters. You got McCollum handling the ball. They're great defensively. They're just
Toughness.
One of these young teams. Man, they match up with pretty much anybody. We've seen them handle the Clippers. And I think they're wasn't like the 5th, 6th spot right now. So that's a good spot, especially if Minnesota's the 3rd seed. no Karl Anthony Towns. I think the Pelicans have a chance to make it to the Western Conference Finals. I really do. I do want to see, and I'm an Oklahoma City guy. I love Oklahoma City. As far as when they first moved there, I seen the growth of Durant, Westbrook, yada. Fast forward to now, somebody made, I can't remember who said this, man. They made the statement as far as the Death Star is being built, and people don't even realize it because this team is so young with Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren. This young group, man, they're just getting better and better. And whether they lose in the first round, second round, make it to the West Conference Finals, it's experience. So they'll grow from it. Teams I don't trust: Phoenix. They can't play with the defense. Golden State. Love Steph. Nothing against Steph, but I just think the young legs that they would have to play, depending on if they ended up in the tournament, that's the thing, because they're going to be in the play-in, and Lord knows if they have to play the Lakers probably going to beat them. Unless Steph gives you 50, in a hell of a night. I don't see it, but the Suns, I really don't trust the Lakers, and I know it's LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Yeah. Save me all that. But they haven't been a great defensive team. I know they're missing Vanderbilt. I'm not going to lock my life on Vanderbilt to make a stop. And it just more of anything is names. I don't know if you want me to move to the Eastern Conference. I can start right there if you want me to.
Well, actually, before you continue, Christian Wood, Vanderbilt, and Gabe Vincent are going to miss the remainder of the regular season with various injuries.
Mm-hmm.
So, that just goes to show right there that the Lakers could fall even more. I mean, how many games are they behind? They are
the 9th or the 10th spot right now.
Well, three and a half. They're 3.5 ahead of Houston right now, and they've won 5 straight.
Yeah, Houston's on the road. They might end up catching them.
Well, right now, Houston 2 games back of Golden State right now. And like you said, they 4 games back of the Lakers.
The Şengün is out, though. That's a big loss for them.
Oh, Şengün is he out for the rest of the year?
Yeah,
that's
he might be.
Okay,
Kyle missed that.
Stop. Yeah, he hurt himself.
It was knee or ankle. I think it was a high ankle sprain.
You know what? Come think of it. Yep.
If Şengün's out, let's go on and throw them out the mix. Mm-hmm.
So,
sorry, Swift, please.
I'll say, Eric, everybody like the young teams or like the Nuggets, but I think the Clippers, man, they can stay. They always deal with injuries. They old.
That's exactly what I was going to bring up.
Yeah, they up and down. If they can stay consistent and not get injured, man, they can go on a run. And Paul George, he missed a good bit, man. So if they, like I said, if they can get everything rolling with Westbrook and Harden, if he can stay, hot and not just be turning the ball over like he's been doing lately, then I know it's a big deal with Harden right now. He's been playing up and down, but if the Clippers can just figure out with all the vets on the team, that's what you want in the playoffs. You want a veteran team that's been there, that's been through the gauntlet. That when they face adversity, they know we still got this. We still in this.
But what gauntlet are you talking about, Swift? I mean, the only person that has playoff experience on LA is Kawhi Leonard.
Bingo.
Russell Westbrook didn't do anything.
Paul George.
You're saying Paul George doesn't have playoffs?
What has Paul George done in the playoffs?
What has he done in the playoffs? He's been to 3 conference finals.
Did he win any of them?
He knows the hurt or losing.
He went against LeBron twice, and he didn't have Kawhi for one of them. He took the Clippers by himself.
All right, you know what? Fair enough.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Go ahead, please, Neel.
No, I'm just jumping on this Clippers point. I mean, me and you know exactly what Kawhi can do to a team that was on the cusp. He bangs them over the top with gusto. And when the Clippers, they beat Utah that one year when he was injured, they went to the conference finals. They put up a good fight in the conference finals. I think it was to Phoenix they lost to with Chris Paul. when they end up then losing to Milwaukee. I believe that was the year. But Kawhi just looks like the Kawhi of old this year, man. He looks like a top 5 player in the league. And the thing about him is that when the playoffs come around, a lot of these superstars like Luka, for example, they just continue at the level that they've been playing in the regular season. Kawhi steps it up in ways that are more intangible than tangible.
Right.
And he knows how to lock up anyone on your team. He makes the clutch buckets when they count, and he does it just as good as pretty much anyone else in the league when he's healthy. You add that to a team that made the conference finals without him a couple of years ago, and I mean, they're definitely not even a dark horse. They're a straight contender.
2 things. Kawhi
Go ahead.
will never be the problem, first and foremost.
Yeah.
Kawhi will never be a problem.
Maybe Harden.
I'm getting to that. Now, this is where my Gemini mind comes into play because I like to play it from 2 sides, Neel and Randy. I look at it as far as we do question Paul George, we do question James Harden, as far as success, and we seen Harden in the Game 7 where they missed 20-some straight threes. We see Ginobili block Harden. We seen Paul George after he broke his leg. Now, before he broke his leg, Miami just outsmarted the Pacers in a sense. Hibbert didn't need to be on the floor. Miami went small, outsmarted them. But after Paul George broke his leg, he goes to OKC. He's playoff P, but he really isn't. So what I'm saying is we need consistency. We're going to need Paul George to be a consistent 2. And the thing that helps James Harden when he has to be the one of the 2, it hasn't worked. Okay, now he's your 3rd option. That's a more suitable role for him because he can still distribute, but you don't have to put the pressure on James Harden to make the biggest play. Like I said, you have the big joker. We're playing spades or we're playing cards in the kind of sort. We got the big joker in Kawhi. Let baby joker be Paul George, and we'll let James Harden be an ace or a diamond or something like that. That's how I think they should win it.
Yeah, no, I mean, the reality is that the beginning of James Harden's tenure with the Clippers was a bit of a joke, but it seems that he's been picking it up. And I mean, is it possible that we can maybe see James Harden as most improved player?
No. Not at all. But I will say this to Flowers' point is that James Harden is known as a playoff flopper in that there's a universal opinion that he hasn't lived up to his potential in the playoffs. I think a huge reason for that is that he has seemingly always prioritized his regular season statistical achievements, MVP chases, more than maybe his playoff successes. Maybe the same argument could be made for Joel Embiid in today's NBA game, in that Joel Embiid is sort of the James Harden of today's game, in that he's an ultimate superstar who just burns out in the playoffs. The problem,
or just can't handle the pressure.
It's that to a degree.
Injuries too.
But it's also injuries to, like, for example, the one year Chris Paul got injured against Golden State. I really do think that Houston would have gone to the finals had Chris Paul not got injured. He got injured.
Most definitely.
Yeah, and they would have. It would have been a 50-50 whether it was really Cleveland or Houston that would have won that finals.
Mm-hmm.
I still maybe 51% Cleveland. But I'll say this is that, to your point of, I think Flowers, you said it, Harden as the 3rd option when 2 dependable offensive options are there, and he's pretty much the primary playmaker. That is something that I really want to see how it unfolds. The problem would be on the defensive end with him more than anything. But then you also got really good defenders around him to cover up for him potentially. So
right, yes.
I think that the Clippers potentially are a nightmare for any team, including Denver. At least Denver is going to be more scared of the Clippers if they have to face them this year than they were against any of their opponents in the entire playoff run last year. No team would give them more trouble than the Clippers this year than any team they faced last year in the playoffs, including Phoenix. which was their biggest
Agree.
challenge last year, and not much of a challenge if you think about it.
Agree.
Denver actually had
Yeah.
a pretty light run to the championship last year if you really look back and dig into it.
Yeah, Phoenix probably gave them the two because Minnesota stole a game from them, and Phoenix stole two.
And LA was just exposed.
Yeah.
And then Miami, they got the good luck of facing an 8th seed. I mean, I think that if Boston played Denver in last year's finals, it probably would have been a 6 to 7 game series. Either way it went. And I think that if this year that's the matchup, it's going to be a 6 to 7 game series, probably 7, if I'm going to be honest.
So I'm going to pose this situation to you guys. We're obviously seeing a real team emerge in Oklahoma City. Chet Holmgren, Jalen Williams, Shea, Lou Dort, fellow Canadian, along with Shea. But how hard would it be for Oklahoma City to keep that core because it's Oklahoma City? I mean, I'm not really one for saying that a star player has to be in the bright lights of New York or Miami. I mean, hey, New York, I mean, they really haven't had, I mean, say whatever you want about Carmelo Anthony, but I mean, beyond Patrick Ewing, I mean, who did New York really have? Like, I mean, the star player was in Cleveland for all those years, and in Oakland, California, with Steph, and hey, San Antonio with Tim Duncan and David Robinson, along with Parker and Ginobili. Oklahoma City, though, is a rather small community, but I mean, obviously, they do have the history with KD, Russ. Do you think that they have the infrastructure? Forget about the economics of the team itself, but do you think that those guys will stay in Oklahoma City?
I think it's possible.
think they would.
Absolutely.
I think
So-
they quiet names. Like they just don't like stand out. It seems like they fit OKC, their personality, like how they carry themselves, especially SGA. You know, he do a little modeling on the side, but he seemed like he's a very humble individual. So I think his personality and his persona fits OKC. And I can see them keeping that team together and possibly add more pieces onto it. And like we saw with Westbrook and KD, you know, the only reason why they departed because of the whole collapse, you know, that they had in the playoffs. You know, they'll point fingers at Joe. No, it's your fault. I think if they had that going on.
So,
right.
yeah.
Right.
As far as, sorry, Swiftman, were you?
Oh,
going?
you can go ahead.
I'll say it like this. There's two facets to this question, Randy. One is the players. Now, you talk about the old big three. Westbrook had huge deficiencies in his game, but he was a superstar. Harden had huge deficiencies in his game, but he was a superstar. Durant is the only guy that was the complete superstar. The problem is they were all very young, immature. When they flamed out, they didn't want to give Harden that little extra bit of money to keep them together. They made a bad decision not keeping Harden at that time. And that is something that is going to haunt Presti for the rest of his career. They would have had championships had they just given Harden that little extra 10 mil, whatever it was.
It wasn't even that much.
It wasn't even that much. It was very small amount. But because of how bad he played in the finals against the Cavs, that probably swayed his decision. And then he probably the difference with this now, ever since then, Sam Presti has been on a mission to compile a cachet of assets to find his new big three. And he has stumbled upon what could be the best big three in the league in a few years. In these three guys, they got Williams, Shea, and Chet. The only guy on a non-rookie contract is Shea, and he's going to be a supermax player before you know it. The thing with that is so now they have a big three that is not only a one-way big three, but they're all excellent defenders, especially Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren. These guys are all NBA level future defenders. And Shea is a dog on the defensive end in his own right. Maybe not elite, but he's not a scrub like James Harden, let's say, for example, on the defensive end. They're all elite offensive players as well that complement each other with the type of offensive skills that they bring as well. Then the second part of this is the franchise itself. And yes, OKC, to your point, very small market. But what do these small market teams do? They rebuild until they are contending. And then they will go all in and go and spend the money that they need to for those years where they can smell a championship.
I guess, other than San Antonio, well, I mean, really, sorry?
Yeah, that's a great example right there.
Well, I mean, other than San Antonio, what other small communities are out there? Quote unquote small communities.
Milwaukee has been doing it for a while.
Milwaukee may be one, but you do have to think about Charlotte. You have to think about Portland.
Portland.
Let's be real here. Was Golden State a big market until Steph and company made it one?
But valid. However, San Francisco's just a hop, skip, and a jump from Oakland.
Yeah, and Silicon Valley probably had something to do with it. All that money flowing in with that whole scene, but
it took success.
Sure. Yeah. Sure. I mean, I guess, really, again, to my point, what has New York done? I mean, it's been, over 50 years they've won, over 50y years they last won the championship.
71 when they won one.
It's been a long time since we
So, I mean, you don't need to be in a big market. Maybe you could go to a team that doesn't have any state tax like Miami. But I mean, nobody's going to Orlando,
right? Yeah,
I mean, Orlando's got a couple of players now, but I mean, they drafted him.
Took them a while.
Think about how many times Orlando has dropped the ball, as far as not giving Shaquille O'Neal $100 million.
I don't know,
allowing Tim Duncan to bring his wife on the plane. I can go on about Orlando.
Honestly, I'm wondering if Shaq just had eyes for LA. I mean, I don't know.
Out of his own mouth, he said he wanted to resign with Orlando, but he's seen somebody get $100 million, and hey, I'm worth more than that guy. Orlando, what you gonna give me? They didn't want to give it to him. Jerry West and Dr. Buss swoop in like thieves of the night. Can't blame him.
Sure, you can't blame him. No, not at all. I guess back to my original point, and of course times have changed and such, but I mean, I wonder if Oklahoma City, the city, has that kind of
you just made me think of something.
Economy.
Now you bring up Shaq, and this is probably the best example. Shaq's ego played into Dr. Buss and company saying Hollywood Shaq and you can do this and that. That fits Shaq's ego. Now, to what Ben said, as far as the players that are in Oklahoma City, and even when they had Kevin Durant and Westbrook, those players, they just want the ball. I don't think it mattered where they were. I just think it mattered that they want the ball. And Durant and Harden and Westbrook, man, they fit the city perfect. I do think that the lower market teams having the ability to, add the extra year and the plus $30-40 million to a contract helps. They had to put that initiative in to help these smaller market teams keep these players. And it's just the NBA thing, because they want to go out west. They play in the winter, so a lot of these people don't want to be in the East Coast. They rather be out west in the sun. It's more of a narrative than anything, but I just think it's more of the player rather than the place, because it's more a narrative thing as far as the NBA is better when New York got a good team. That's just because it feeds into the media and the monster that thrives New York and the state.
Yeah, but to your point, Randy, about the economy in Oklahoma City, every single NBA team is extremely comfortable paying money up to the luxury tax. It is nothing to them to pay up to the luxury tax. It's the small markets have trouble getting into the luxury tax because every dollar costs you $3 or $4 on top of that dollar. Yeah. That's the thing where Golden State has been levied with epic historical payrolls, because most of it is luxury tax, and less the larger proportion of it is luxury tax than anything else. So for these small market teams, it takes the clear contender to move into that luxury tax for them. Otherwise, it becomes a big burden on the team's profitability. And so most teams wouldn't take that chance. And Michael Jordan certainly earned his reputation as a cheap ass motherfucker. by
Who likes to gamble? Make sense.
To be honest, he never really wanted to spend on his team. It was very clear.
You talking about the owner? You talking about the owner, Michael Jordan, right, Neel?
The owner, Michael Jordan. Man.
Okay.
And so, I do believe that Oklahoma City will win at least 2 championships in this decade. They may be a dynasty. They are the next best, clearest potential to be a dynasty in the whole league, and it's not even like a question.
That is true.
I like all three of their best players are all NBA level players, and possibly all of them could be all NBA first team level players. Even Jalen Williams, the way that he's coming along so quickly and a two-way beast, really. They got a fantastic coach too, Mark Daigneault. They got the best GM in the league, arguably, in Sam Presti. They got an extremely excellent fan base, loyal. It looks like San Antonio all over to me, but with a better big three potentially. Not to take anything away from Tim Duncan. That guy was top 10 player all time potentially. But these guys could definitely do it.
Flowers, you were about to say something?
Oh, I just wanted to say, I know Michael Jordan, the owner, was lousy. But me and RC was having a conversation on the phone earlier today. And we were just talking about how we feel like the NBA, of course, kind of controls where people go, like Neel was saying. The NBA plays a part in where some people go. And I was telling RC, Michael Jordan only sold the team because he didn't get Anthony Davis or Victor Wembanyama. He always got Michael Kidd-Gilchrist or Raymond Felton or somebody like that. So he spent the majority of his time with bad contracts, having to trade off bad contracts, taking on contracts to free up his books. So it's been more of that for Michael Jordan, because I guarantee you he doesn't sell that team if they have the first pick and gets Victor Wembanyama.
Well,
he also,
you do. You will concede that LaMelo Ball, barring injuries, could be a legit piece. Now,
yes,
is he the kind of guy that could, be a team leader? Embrace.
No.
He got a little immature.
It's not the talent. Not the talent. It's just
his immaturity.
He's too immature to be, be somebody like we're so used to seeing. Like we can sit up here and talk shit about LeBron James. I know I talk my shit about him. I also give him, props when it's due. He's the only one that can go somewhere and control the narrative and make decisions, and everything fits him. A lot of people can't do that. So we do have to give LeBron that credit. But LaMelo, this is the perfect example. Talented, but his decision making, you see it off the court as far as, I ain't trying to get into who's in his bed or not, but just decisions like that, and amongst other things, how he spends his money. Kind of, he comes off as immature because he's so young. So he needs someone else, to help him grow. Or he's probably, he's going to end up, I'm willing to bet y'all, he'll end up in LA eventually.
God.
Knowing the ball.
I think LaMelo is one of those guys that has the potential to have a 3 to 4 year window where he is an all NBA player and potentially could contribute as a second or third option to a championship. But he has to have a coach and a number one superstar that provides the mentality and the discipline that's necessary, that he can get by on just his otherworldly talent, because he does not have the discipline, the maturity, or maybe even the desire to be great. But he has the tangible skills that is what he's been riding on them coattails of his tangible skills the whole time. But I still believe that there's something to him. I do. It's against like my principles almost, but I believe that there's something to him. It's just it may take a long time to come out, and he's got to maintain his health as well.
He might have a trajectory like D'Lo, like D'Angelo Russell.
Ooh, that's a bad comparison.
I think he might have a trajectory like that where we
D'Lo,
saw
he's
D'Lo,
already better
man,
than D'Lo now.
Well, we saw D'Lo. He was like top, like he was a very good player. Like he was.
D'Lo dropped 45 on Milwaukee. All of a sudden, he
that's what I'm saying. Like D'Lo, he has the ball. His immaturity plays a part in how he comes to these games sometimes. You know,
I agree with you in that sense, but I feel like LaMelo coming in compared to D'Angelo, he was well more equipped to be a franchise guy more than D'Lo. D'Lo's immaturity is top notch level. If you want to go back to the swaggy piece stuff and all that, you want to talk about maturity. It's not, he's coming
like you see it right now with D'Lo in the interview. Now he's the dog. Now he's the best.
So getting back to your point, Randy, about owners in small markets, Michael Jordan's problem was that he always truly probably did not see any potential in his team. And so he refused to spend the money on that team because he knew that any extra money he spent on a team that was not going to compete for a championship was just money being taken out of his pocket. And that was the type of guy that Michael Jordan is that he is greedy. And his greed, to be fair, is part of the reason. The narcissism is part of the reason that he is the GOAT. You have to have some degree of egotistical self-prophesizing narcissism, and it's all I want it all, I want it all, I want it all. No one can have it but me. You got to have that if you're going to be the GOAT of anything, in my opinion. And to be the GOAT of anything means that you got to be a little psychotic. And so Michael Jordan just kind of carried those principles over to ownership. Unfortunately, he couldn't put his actual handprint on things from a physical perspective, and so he had to rely on many other people, and he just wasn't able to create a culture. He wasn't able to hire the right people, and he wasn't able to put down the dollar ever to have any type of chance to be a successful owner. And he got screwed over with the Michael Kidd-Gilchrist thing as well. That
still shows him.
But Charlotte and Oklahoma City are two opposite examples. Oklahoma City and San Antonio, those belong in some sort of similar stratosphere. Charlotte belongs with like the Knicks or whatever when they were crappy. They're just some teams that the culture dictates everything. It's a top-down league, and if you ain't top-down from the owner on down, small market or otherwise, you just don't have a chance to compete. Unless you get really lucky.
Well said.
Yeah, absolutely. I did want to ask one final question, guys. The Paris Olympics are going to take part in what would that be, about 4 months? But there's a lot of hype about what the U.S. Dream Team will look like. Of course, there is one legacy piece that the likes of Steph Curry doesn't have, and that is an Olympic gold medal. As Neel and I, we were chatting, fellas, before we got together this evening, and Neel is looking very forward for the Paris Olympics, and I am too, but I'll later clarify in a moment. Swift, love to start with you. I mean, with regards to Olympic basketball, is this something on your radar for this summer? Like, are you looking forward to
depending on who USA is putting on the team? I ain't trying to look for no second stringers. I'm trying to look for some all-star. Yeah, right.
Now you honestly don't think that they're not going to have the best of the best.
They are now because of what we did to them in the FIBA.
Wow.
because of what.
Look,
let me rephrase that.
it's LeBron. LeBron gonna cause the effect, depending on what he feels like doing. Cause I know, I think it was Curry that made a statement like, wait till we play or something. Like, it was somebody of that stature talking about how they haven't played, and when they play, they're gonna see who's the best in the world. So, but it always gonna start with LeBron. If he's up to it, then everybody else gonna fall in line. So if he say yes, he's going in, he all in, then I'm like, okay, I'm all in. I see what this team is all about then.
But you know why he's going to be all in, right? It's an absolute guarantee he's going to be all in. It's not just because the USA lost in FIBA. It's not just that the USA lost to Canada in FIBA, but the USA lost to Dylan Brooks, who is LeBron's nemesis over the last couple of years. One Dylan Brooks. So LeBron is going to be like Deion Sanders of this recruiting trip, man. He is about to get on Steph's case.
I'm here for it.
You see him shaking hands and tapping butts with Steph every single game they played this season because he knows, Steph, you gonna come on my Olympic squad this year. You know it. And Steph's like, yep. And so
he's too busy doing the podcast.
No, I think
exactly. Right?
I think Steph, you're gonna see, and we can come back to this in a few months and talk about it. LeBron, Steph Curry, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant will 100% all be on the team. You're gonna have Jason Tatum. You're gonna have Jason Tatum. You're gonna have Anthony Edwards. I'm not gonna try to guess the rest of the guys, but I know that those guys will be on Team USA this year.
Dang.
And it's gonna be fantastic, man.
Flowers, what about you? I mean, are you looking forward to the Olympic tournament, especially if your country's lineup is what Neel is predicting?
I'm looking forward to it for that and more of I want to see what the world has to offer. Because man, look, the world's on the United States' ass. I'm gonna be real with you. This group, Steph, LeBron, this is me and Ben's area of growing up. I feel like it's the last hurrah as far as the United States establishing dominance with the world. This is the last hurrah for that because after LeBron, Steph, Durant, all these guys, who, first and foremost, we really don't know who the face of the NBA is going to be. It could be an international player. It might not be a U.S.-born player that's the face of the NBA once LeBron and the company leaves. So that opens it up more for the world. Hell, I'm scared of Canada. You know, Canada has a lot of talent. You can't sleep on Serbia or somebody like that. You know, France usually has a good team. What about Wemby now? Like, the more and more the older Wemby gets, the more and more that team is going to be good. So the United States, like I said, I feel like this is the last hurrah as far as complete dominance for a team because it'll be Steph, Durant, Devin Booker might be on this team. I think Joel said he wanted to be on this team before he got hurt.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
come on.
I know what I'm saying. So you're dealing with that. This will be the last, this will be the last go around. So 4 years from now, I think it's a different ball game.
Yeah, very valid. And sorry, Neel, please go ahead.
And what happened the last time that the USA lost at a major tournament was, probably the thing that comes to mind for me is when they lost to Argentina in the 2004 Olympics.
Yeah, bronze medal.
And who did they call on to come save them in 2008? Kobe Bryant. Kobe came in there with that Mamba mentality, put it all through the team, just like Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson did in 92. And so this year, I think LeBron has a sort of a special sort of internal feeling that he is the savior of this particular Olympics, that he is to recruit and ensure the leadership and the mentality needed to go in here and bust everybody up. And I think that he's going to be on a mission to do exactly that. Like, look, he knows he's not going to win a championship this year. You saw how giddy he was when he won that in-season tournament just to get a taste of that winning again. I think LeBron really is looking at this Olympic tournament as another step in a major piece of glory that he wants. And I think Steph Curry is really jonesing to get in on his first one as well. And just to your point, Flowers, man, all the teams this year, there's only 12 teams. And other than a couple, like you got South Sudan, you got Japan, fine, good. You made it to the Olympics, but you're not going
Right.
nowhere fast. But Canada is strong. Serbia is strong. Greece, if Giannis plays, is strong. Slovenia with Luka, you know that
Yep.
any team that
Yep.
got Luka got a chance. Same thing for Giannis. Spain is always, they got the culture. They got the San Antonio culture in Spain to bring them, so no one can really take a breath. Australia. It's going to be a fun Olympics. I think one of the better, more competitive ones that we've ever seen, with the lack of like dominance from one team or the other. It's going to be a lot of parity, I think, and it's going to be a very good challenge for the American team, who I think will win gold. But this is going to be one of the most challenging Olympics for them to do so.
See, this is what I'm comparing men's basketball to, is that especially when we were younger, when we were younger guys, like in our early 20s and so on, and you go to the bar and there's that really, really cute waitress who's acting all nice to you and everything. And then, you try and make a play and you get shut down. That's what I kind of think men's basketball is that you're going to put some legit pieces together, like Canada, for example, and the pretty girl being the USA is going to shut us down. I think that I don't even think the gold medal is going to be a question. If the US has everybody out there, I don't think it's even going to be a question that USA is going to run the table.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I like, let's take a look at the Tokyo Olympics, because USA had a slow start, and then I was like, yeah, they're still going to win it. They're still going to win it. Guess what? They won it.
Yep.
I mean, I still think that, like, despite, like, of course, as Canadians, Neel and I, we are very, very impressed and proud with the evolution of Canada's men's basketball team. I mean, hey, a potential MVP candidate could be a Canadian in Shea, but they don't have a team as complete as US.
No,
I mean, Zach Edey was on the team.
Yeah, the US only loses when they get cute.
Yep.
When they get cute, they send guys like
when guys don't want to play. When guys don't want
they
to,
think they can get away in 2000, like in 2004, for example. They think they can get away with Carlos Boozer as one of their core pieces and things of that nature. Clearly just having a little bit of hubris to them, like a little bit of ego, saying we don't need to send the best.
Yep.
The fact is, the USA is still the dominant force, but they got to send the best. Otherwise, they're going to get swept with the rest to somebody else. And I just think that after the way that they got handled by Canada in that FIBA tournament and sending guys like Miles Bridges as core piece, this team was so far off what the potential USA dream team could be. There's no more, after they lose one of these major tournaments, the cuteness goes away and the dog comes back. And that's been the trend with the USA dating back to the 80s, is that when they lose in any sort of major international tournament, being the World Cup or the Olympics, here comes the dog out the cage.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. No, I completely agree with that. I completely agree. Guys, how you doing for timing? I know I did tease a
fun
trivia
podcast.
challenge. Yeah. Neel, do you have about 15, 20 minutes left in you, or do you have to get going?
No, I'll stick around. This has been really fun. I think naturally it's just gone on with the flow, and I think.
Yeah, no, hey, it's it has been a great run.
This has been, I will say, one of the more tangential. We've gone on more tangents on this podcast than any other episode that I've been in, but they've all been extremely enjoyable.
That's all we do on our show.
Yeah.
Like we just throw all the topics out, like, hey, let's go.
The branches just keep flowing,
Right.
I got to say, Neel, I don't know if you've caught Voice of the Fans, but between Flowers and RC, as of course with Swift, it's they have some real passion to the sports that they cover. When admittedly, like, I do not know football as at all, but like how they could just run with even the Super Bowl show There was a couple of things where Flowers and RC were challenging Swift on, and it was
I was
great.
standing tall. I was boots on the ground.
So, guys, Flowers, as I did mention before we started, Swift and RC took part in a small trivia game that I drew up. And it was really a lot of fun. And, I was looking forward to doing the same. And my wife actually got me a gift for Christmas. And I haven't even had a chance to open it yet. And this is a Toronto sports trivia game.
Okay.
I don't even know what's inside. How I want to do this, guys. Now, on the cover here, they have a hockey player, a basketball player, a baseball player, and a soccer player. How I want to do this is I'm going to try and find 3 basketball questions. I want to find a hockey question, and I'll throw in a baseball question as well for each of you. All right. So I'm going to ask you guys 5 questions a piece. And we'll get it going in consecutive order. So I'll start with Swift. I'm going to ask you 5 questions, and Flowers, I'm going to ask you 5, and we'll see how Neel does, and if he wants to take part, we'll throw Neel a bone as well. All right, so let me. So I am kind of doing this on the fly because again, this is a brand new. I'm opening it for the first time ever. So bear with me a quick second. Man, it would be nicer if I was able to remove this plastic a little bit more solidly here. Okay, so now it looks like that we do have, basketball. They all appear to be. Got baseball. Okay, so as I said, 3 basketball, 1 hockey, 1 baseball. All right. Now, Swift, I'm going to ask you 5 questions consecutively, and then I'll throw it to Flowers, and then Neel, I'll get you in the mix as well. All right. So, and Neel, of course, you have an entire country on your shoulders right now because you better represent. Because if you don't,
but the other side of the coin is the USA has sent their best. Right. So what chance do I get?
Yeah,
you might let the Americans Olympic conversation just now.
Okay, so Swift, you ready?
Let's get it.
All right. What limited edition item featuring logos of the Raptors and OVO was distributed to some lucky fans shortly after being popularized by Drake during the 2014 NBA playoffs?
You said what logo?
Yeah. No, what limited edition item?
Featuring
logos of the Raptors and OVO was distributed to some lucky fans shortly after being popularized by Drake during the 2014 NBA playoffs.
Jeez. I don't know.
Okay.
There's no multiple choice?
No, it is not. No, I apologize.
Man, they really test you on this game.
Yeah. All right, we'll go to the next one. In 2000, what team swept the Raptors 3-0 in Toronto's first ever NBA playoff series?
Oh, I know this one.
First ever playoffs.
Does he get clues? Am I allowed to give him clues?
I'll tell you what. You know what? I'm going to give you multiple choice, and I am going to give it to you on the fly here. Okay. For the first question, Swift, what limited edition item featuring logos of the Raptors and OVO was distributed to some lucky fans shortly after being popularized by Drake during the 2014 NBA playoffs? Was it a jacket, a comb, or a lint roller?
Let's go jacket.
Okay. In 2000, what team swept the Raptors 3-0 in Toronto's first ever NBA playoff series? Was it the Celtics, the Knicks, or the Cavaliers?
Let's go Knicks.
Okay. Fresh off winning the NL Cy Young Award, what righty hurler did the Jays acquire in a 2012 December trade with the New York Mets? Was it Josh Johnson, R.A. Dickey, or Mark Burley?
I want to say, let's go R.J. Dickey.
Okay. Let's see. I'm gonna ask. I already asked a baseball question here. Okay, that question's too easy. Okay. Which member of Michigan's Fab Five did the Raptors select in the second round of the 1995 NBA draft? I am not going to give you a multiple choice question on this one.
I want to say Jalen Rose.
Okay. Let's see.
Kyle
I gotta
Williams,
get you.
Fresh.
I gotta get you a hockey question in here. Okay.
It wasn't
In 2000. Sorry.
He shook Neel shook his head. It wasn't Jalen.
Jalen Rose is second
Did
round.
he?
Sorry. Well, sorry. Please continue if you wanted to.
No, he was shaking his head like, no. it
Hold
wasn't
on,
Jalen.
Randy. I just gotta ask: are you coming up with these multiple choice options on the fly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if lint roller was not the answer to the first question, that's a hell of a thing to think of.
Give me a second here, Neel. All right. In 2013, well, you're not going to get this one. This one's too hard.
Oh, go ahead, man,
okay.
ask me.
Well, no. I mean, it's
Okay, save it for me. Save it for me.
I'll save it for you, Neel. What head coach led the Raptors to the 2000 NBA playoffs just 2 seasons removed from a 5-28 record as a midseason replacement for Darrell Walker? Swift, was it Lenny Wilkins, Kevin O'Neill, or Butch Carter?
What was the first one?
Lenny
What was
Wilkins.
the first? Is O'Neill, Kevin O'Neill?
Okay, last question here. Yeah, no, I think these hockey questions are a little too hard. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah, I don't know nothing about hockey.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Okay. In 2013, what Toronto native became the first Canadian player ever selected number 1 overall in the NBA draft? Was it Andrew Wiggins, Anthony Bennett, or Shai Gilgeous-Alexander?
You said number 1?
Yeah, first overall.
Trick question.
Jeez, bro. I know it was an SGA. Well, you said Bennett? All right. You said Wiggins.
Anthony Bennett or Andrew Wiggins or Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
I want to say it was Wiggins. No, you said number 1, like number 1. You said number 1, right?
First overall. Mm-hmm.
I know Wiggins went first, but I don't know.
It's a trick question. That's all I'm gonna say.
Let's go with Anthony Bennett. 'Cause I don't think Andrew Wiggins was number 1.
Oh, yeah, he was.
He was?
Yeah.
Oh, I knew he went in first round, but I was like,
Wait, you want to change your answer?
Yep.
You want to change your answer?
No, they told me it was Wiggins. I was like,
So,
I remember going on first.
okay.
I just said Wiggins was the number 1 pick. That's all I
Yeah,
said.
we did. We didn't say he was wrong or right.
Okay, you said Kevin O'Neill. You said Kevin O'Neill for the answer was Butch Carter. Yeah, it was Butch Carter. Who,
by the way, is Chris Carter's brother, football Chris Carter, the Vikings.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, Butch Carter's brother. Brother, yeah.
Oh.
I think brother or cousin. Brother, I think.
Brother. Yeah, that's his brother.
Yeah.
And the most prolific quarterback in Canadian Football League history is the brother of Marcus Allen, Damon Allen. Yeah, he's the most.
Marcus Allen's brother is Damon Allen?
Yeah.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Talking about the Raiders, Marcus Allen, or the
Raiders Marcus Allen.
Okay.
Yeah, Raiders Marcus Allen. Yeah, member of Michigan's Fab Five, who was drafted by the Raptors, was Jimmy King, not Jalen Rose.
What team did Jalen Rose get drafted by?
Denver.
That's right. He was drafted by Denver. Yeah. NL Cy Young Award winner who was traded to Toronto was R.A. Dickey. You got that one correct.
Oh.
And yeah, the limited edition item was a lint roller.
Oh!
Yeah.
Why don't I remember that? Like,
yeah, you know what? Like what happened there is because Drake was on the Drake was at his traditional seat, and he had the lint roller out.
Yeah.
And
I remember that. I just remember the OVO jacket.
What were the other options you gave Randy for that one? You said jacket and what?
A comb. I think I said
a comb. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
I knew it wasn't a comb. I forgot about the lint roller. I remember now, but I thought it was the OVO jacket. I remember they released some limited edition ones.
All right. So Swift, if I'm not mistaken, you got two. Okay. So the reason why I wanted to throw a hockey question at Neel, I don't know if you caught this.
Was the Bennett answer Bennett or Wiggins? I don't think you covered
it was Bennett. It was Bennett. Yeah.
I'm gonna switch.
But Wiggins was also the number one pick in the draft.
The year after or 2
the
years
year after, that's right.
Yeah.
Because I threw an impromptu trivia question during Voices of the Fans, and it was the last team who won the Stanley Cup, and Flowers, snap of a finger, got it. And I was like, damn, these guys know their puck. I want to come back at them.
Just Flowers. The only thing I know is the Mighty Ducks movies. That's about it.
Goldberg.
Right.
So, Flowers, if I do catch a hockey question, maybe I'll throw it at you.
You can try me.
All right. But yeah, so let's see what we got here. Okay, in 2003, the Raptors drafted Chris Bosh 4th overall after he played just one season at what Atlantic Coast Conference University?
Georgia Tech.
Okay, in 2005, the 1-15 Raptors picked up their second win of the season by beating what opponent that entered the game with a similarly pitiful 2-12 record?
In 2004?
2005.
2005. Can I get a multiple choice with that?
Yeah, we'll go with Charlotte, Atlanta, or Detroit.
I'm going to go Atlanta.
Okay. In what year did the Raptors win their first divisional title in franchise history? 2007, 2008, or 2009?
I'm trying to remember those teams. Let's say 2008.
Okay. What two stars did the Toronto Blue Jays acquire in the 1990 blockbuster trade that sent Fred McGriff and Tony Fernandez to the San Diego Padres?
Give me a multiple choice.
So these are two players, so I'll give you five players, okay? Roberto Alomar, Devon White, Paul Molitor, Joe Carter, or Dave Steeb?
Carter, and whoever was for Carter. Option B.
That would have been Alomar, I said. Yeah, because I said Devon White first. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. What was the name of the hockey team that was renamed the Toronto Maple Leafs in 1927? So prior to 1927, the Toronto Maple Leafs were not called the Toronto Maple Leafs. Were they called the Toronto St. Patrick's, the Toronto Canadiens, or the Toronto Huskies?
It's either the Huskies or Canadians. I'm gonna go with the Canadians.
All right. So in what do we have here? Yeah, you said Georgia Tech, the team for Chris Bosh, so that was correct. The 2005 and the Raptors were 1-15. They beat the Atlanta Hawks. That was correct.
Nice.
You got Joe Carter and Roberto Alomar, the blockbuster trade. I remember that trade. That led the Blue Jays to 2 World Series.
Back to back. It's Drake.
Yeah. So 3 for 3. Unfortunately, what question was this? The year that the Raptors won their first divisional title, 2007. 2007. Yes, Neil.
That's why I
And
was in high
actually,
school.
yeah, I
We lost in the
unfortunately,
first round.
yeah,
We were the 3
yeah.
seed. We lost to
who
the
was
6
on the
seed.
team. I could not remember.
Chris Bosh, Morris Peterson.
No. 2007. No, that was TJ Ford. That was
Yes.
that was when
Oh,
Sam
TJ
Mitchell.
Ford.
Mo Pete was
That was
on the
when-
team.
No.
Most
This
people
was,
on that team?
this was DeMar. This is DeMar and Kyle.
No. 2007? No. Kyle came to the team in 2012.
Mo Pete's not on that team?
I'm
Pete was on the
certain. I'm certain Mo Pete was in New Orleans.
Okay.
Well, I'm certain Kyle was not on the team. Kyle was not even in the league. Kyle
In
was not even in the
2007.
league. Kyle was not even in the league in 2007.
Yeah, he was a little later.
No, you know what? You first division. Then who was the coach?
It was what's his name?
I thought it was. I was thinking it was Sam
It
Mitchell.
was Sam Mitchell. Yeah, it was Sam Mitchell. Yep.
I'm gonna have to look this up. This is killing value.
You want Coach of the Year?
The team name of the Toronto Maple Leafs was the Toronto St. Pats. And actually, I got the jersey in my closet. I was thinking about wearing it tonight, but all right, Neil. So listen, you have the home court advantage. So I don't know if I could give you a multiple.
I don't know if I could beat Flowers on this one.
Yeah, he got 3 of them. Come on,
He shot
Flowers.
75%. He shot 60%. True shooting.
Yeah. So Neil, I gotta ask you, like, how strong are you in hockey?
Not great.
Okay, I'll
I can do hockey. I just Leafs history is not as good. Maybe Oilers history. I know that.
Yeah, Oilers history. That's right. Yeah. Okay. All right. Very quickly, because I know that we should be calling a night soon. But what UConn power forward was named to the All NBA rookie team after the Raptors grabbed him with the 7th pick in the 2005 NBA draft?
Villanueva.
Okay. What Jays righty started 3 games for Team USA, earning MVP honors in the 2017 World Baseball Classic?
What righty that played for the Jays won MVP at the World Baseball Classic?
For Team USA.
2017?
Yeah, we thinking on that one.
I need a multiple choice on this one.
Yeah.
Okay, let's give you R.A. Dickey, Mark Burley, or Marcus Stroman.
Dickey.
Okay. Let's see. Where are these? Okay, after 9 years with the Blue Jays, what lefty made his final start in Game 4 of the 1992 World Series?
Multiple choice.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Hard, man.
Yeah, Jimmy Key, Denny Boucher, or Pat Henkin?
Denny Bush. No, Jimmy Key.
Okay. In what year did Toronto FC make its MLS debut?
I don't care.
2006, 2007, 2008.
2008.
How are you gonna diss my Toronto FC, man?
No.
And I think I owe you. No, I think that was it, wasn't it? Was that 5? Let me give you one more. Was it 5?
So.
All right, sorry.
So
So
pretty
yeah,
good. Didn't get through
all
yet.
right. So now it looks like Neel, you got Marcus Stroman was the MVP for the 2017 World Baseball Classic. Yeah, it looks like you got that one right. And
No, I said R.A. Dickey.
You did say R.A. Dickey? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Big Lebowski.
Yeah, what UConn power forward? That would have been Charlie Villanueva.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Toronto FC made its debut in 2007. And Jimmy Key
2007.
was the legendary
Guess that I
left-hander.
made.
Yeah. Hey guys, you know what? Thank you so much for taking part in this. Flowers, it looks like you're the one who has your handle on Toronto sports trivia. And
Good
you know,
job,
Neel,
good job.
Neel, I know that you I know that you were given some tougher questions there. So and Swift as well. So appreciate you both.
I should go dwell in my shame now.
Yeah. So listen, guys, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you what you guys have coming up for Voice of the Fans. Like what can we expect on your podcast in the future?
Well, this week we're not doing a show Friday, so we'll be back Monday, and we're gonna go more in depth into the NFL draft and what team needs for the draft. And we're gonna focus on some more NBA, of course, as we get down the stretch, and the MVPs who we think gonna be MVP of the NBA, Rookie of the Year. I know Chet and Wemby began going back and forth for the rookie, so we're gonna see.
Excellent. Where can everybody find your incredible work?
Oh man, y'all can follow us on YouTube. We stream to that, Twitch, Facebook, Instagram. Just type in VOL Sportscast and we'll pull up, or you can just Google VOL Sportscast and it'll pull up all our social media platforms. I think that'll be the easiest way to find us.
Awesome. Guys, thank you so much for this. Really hope that we could get together soon. And hey, maybe when Canada and US are about to tip off in Paris, we'll get the crew going for another episode. To Swift, Ben Swift, Reynolds, Damian, Professor Flowers, and Neel Katarey, thank you guys so much.
Man, thank y'all.
Thank
Thank you guys.
This is What's Up the Sport. Yeah, absolutely. This is What's Up the Sports podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. Hope you're well and keeping safe. We will talk to you next time.
Peace.